Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. When you picture the Arctic, what comes to mind? Vast sheets of ice, stunning auroras, majestic polar bears. It feels like the last pristine wilderness on Earth. But beneath that beautiful icy surface, a silent poison is spreading. A toxic ghost from our industrial past, threatening the very creatures that make the Arctic so unique. Today, we're talking about legacy mercury, and why what happens in the rest of the world doesn't stay out of the Arctic. So what is this legacy mercury? Mercury is a heavy metal, and for centuries, our factories, power plants, and mines have been pumping it into the environment. Now we have global agreements like the Minamata Convention trying to stop this, but what about all the mercury we already released decades or even centuries ago? That's legacy mercury. It didn't just disappear. It settled into our planet's soils and oceans, like a toxic savings account. And now, it's cashing out in the worst possible place. A huge amount of it travels through the air, especially from industrial centers in Asia. But a recent, groundbreaking study revealed a much slower, more sinister delivery service: ocean currents. Imagine mercury released from a factory 150 years ago, finally arriving in Greenland today. This explains a terrifying puzzle. Even though we've cut back on new mercury pollution since the 1970s, the levels in Arctic animals are still going up. Once mercury gets to the Arctic, it undergoes a deadly transformation. Bacteria in the water convert it into an organic form called methylmercury. And this stuff is incredibly toxic and easily absorbed by living things. It all starts at the bottom. Tiny plankton absorb it from the water. Then, a small fish eats thousands of plankton. A bigger fish eats hundreds of those small fish. A seal eats dozens of those bigger fish. And at the very top, a polar bear eats many of those seals. At each step, the mercury doesn't just pass through, it builds up. This process is called biomagnification. It means that an apex predator like a polar bear can have mercury concentrations millions of times higher than the water around it. And these levels are no joke. Today, polar bears and toothed whales have mercury levels 20 to 30 times higher than they were before the Industrial Revolution. This is a huge problem because mercury is a neurotoxin. It attacks the nervous system, leading to neurological damage, reproductive problems, and weakened immune systems. It could even be messing with their senses, making it harder to hunt. While we haven't seen mass die-offs directly proven to be from mercury, the levels are high enough to cause serious harm. In the Beaufort Sea, for example, over a third of polar bears are considered at high risk. There's even a bird, the beautiful ivory gull, that's now called a mercury barometer for the Arctic. Its feathers show a nearly 50-fold increase in mercury over the last 130 years. Scientists worry that in just a few decades, they'll struggle to reproduce and even find food. And just when you think the story can't get any worse, climate change enters the chat. The Arctic is warming 2 to 4 times faster than the rest of the planet, and this is like throwing gasoline on the fire. For thousands of years, the Arctic's frozen soil, the permafrost, has been trapping atmospheric mercury. But as the permafrost thaws, it's starting to release this stored mercury into rivers and oceans. Scientists have called it a potential giant mercury bomb. On top of that, the loss of sea ice is changing how animals hunt, sometimes forcing them towards food sources that are higher in mercury. The warmer climate might even be speeding up the process that creates that toxic methylmercury in the first place. This isn't just an animal story. The indigenous peoples of the Arctic, who have relied on these animals for their food and culture for generations, are now facing this health risk directly. The poison in the wildlife becomes a poison for the people. The truly sobering part is that because this legacy mercury takes so long to travel and persists for hundreds of years, the Arctic is locked into this problem for centuries to come, even if we stopped all emissions today. The story of legacy mercury is a stark reminder that our planet is deeply interconnected. The pollution of our past doesn't fade away. It travels, transforms, and delivers a toxic inheritance to the most remote corners of our world.